Well, good afternoon. Recently we've been apprised of a lawsuit that's been filed by the Yale Law School against the City of Danbury, Chief of Police, and Immigration Customs Enforcement. At this time, I have not seen or reviewed the complaint because, frankly, Yale didn't have the courtesy to give us a copy. So I'm not going to be able to comment on any details of the complaint or any allegations that are in the complaint. But I will tell you this. From what I know and from what members of the press have described of the complaint, the lawsuit seems to be all about the politics of illegal immigration that's raging on the national stage right now. And I think at the end of the day, what you'll see is that the City of Danbury, along with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, acted with full knowledge of the law and acted in full compliance with the law. And frankly, we are not going to be bullied by Yale, by anybody else, as it relates to the equal application and the mutual applications of the laws of the City of Danbury. The City of Danbury will mount a vigorous defense of this lawsuit, because this is not just a lawsuit against the Chief of Police, myself, or Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It's a lawsuit against the citizens of Danbury who clearly want our laws enforced in a fair and vigorous manner. And let me just add that Danbury Police routinely assist federal and state law enforcement agencies. We do it as a standard operating procedure similar to what every other local municipality across the United States of America does, and we are going to continue this policy. That pretty much wraps up my comments in terms of the complaint. Again, we have not been able to review it. As soon as we do, we may have further comment, but that won't be for at the minimum several days. With that, answer any questions I will, but again, if there are details, let's see what I can help. Yes?
The last thing you said, that you routinely assist federal authorities. From what they're saying that this was your game and they were assisting you. Would you describe who was assisting whom on that day last year?
Danbury Police Department was assisting Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The term Danbury 11 has been made up over this incident. It was simply an ICE operation where we provided logistics.
Yes.
Did federal authorities contact you and ask you to perform this operation, or did you contact them for assistance? Who asked first?
Well, I think at this point, again, without seeing the nature of the complaint, is really something that we're going to discuss now, particularly because we're in litigation. That'll all come out of court.
Mayor, regardless of the complaint, have you, in this case, previously or since then, contacted ICE and said, we'd like you to come to town, we'd like to check this person out, this place out?
I don't, with the exception of me personally, I've never spoken to ICE. We did write a letter back in 2004 to Homeland Security asking for a general enforcement. I stand by that communication today. I think it's the right thing to do. But beyond that, we never had any specific conversations about specific enforcement actions in the city.
But what did you have in mind by, or what do you mean by general enforcement?
That's up to ICE. They're the ones responsible and charged with enforcing federal immigration law. That's their decision. By the way, we never received a reply.
They said that in their freedom of information requests back 3 months ago that it was a Danbury police officer driving the van, or Danbury police program. Is that part of the assistance?
Well, we're not going to get a comment about the specifics of the case. We haven't read the complaint because we haven't received a copy of it yet. But in terms of who assisted who in the actual details and specifics of that event, we just can't comment on it.
The chief just said Danbury assisted ICE. Am I clear on that?
Logistical assistance.
Logistical.
That's right. The nature of that assistance, we're not going to discuss.
A question today, Mayor. An article from the News Times referring to, how Brewster, the town of Brewster, has gone about dealing with the illegal immigration problem, and there is a comment that you said they would be contemplating into acting upon taking the same actions in Danbury. If you could just,
Well, 14 members of our Common Council have written to myself and placed on the council agenda an opportunity for the city to engage in a strategic partnership with ICE called the ICE Access Program. At this point, we really can't make a decision whether or not the city would participate. First of all, it's going to be up to the legislative discussion and vote here at the Common Council, and that will be up to the public discourse that goes on here. But more importantly, we have to do some legal research to determine whether or not even municipalities in Connecticut can engage in that kind of relationship. Frankly, because of the home rule provisions of our Constitution, there are some restrictions about the kind of partnerships we can engage in. And secondly, the chief will probably be charged with writing a report to determine what the viability of that kind of program and whether it makes sense to even participate in it. So at this point, I don't really have anything to say. There are some interesting aspects of the program, but again, we have a lot of work to do, so it would be very much premature.
Because you did mention also, Mark, that you saw that there were the quality of life, some aspects of the quality of life in Brewster were improved. Do you?
I didn't say that. It wasn't me. I think the mayor was Mayor Degnan, so you can contact him. Any other questions?
Yeah, if the federal government works with the municipality to do some kind of year operation, it's done under a 287G, I think is the name of the program. Then the local authorities, don't they have to go through certain kinds of training and certain kinds of enforcement procedures, and a procedure has to be put into place? Has Danbury done that?
Well, 287G program is a formal relationship between a local municipality and ICE. No, we haven't done that, and that's why this was an ICE operation directed by ICE. We don't have the authority to go out and unilaterally enforce immigration law unless we're so directed by Immigration Customs Enforcement. Under 287G, even then, it's very limited in the kind of immigration law you can enforce, and that's part of the research that the chief has to do to see if this makes sense for the city.
So then, under what authority was the Danbury Police Force given the right to do this with federal assistance?
Under the Immigration Customs Enforcement. It was their operation. It's their authority.
To your understanding, the chief's understanding, who made the initial arrests in this situation?
Again, that's a detail of the operation we're just not going to discuss with you, Mark. We need to read.
Because that's a very public thing. I mean, who made the arrest? You or I?
Well, there's differing opinions on that, but we're not going to comment on that because we haven't read the complaint. We certainly don't know what the nature of the complaint is.
Are you going to be contacting ICE to find out what they may have in documents that led this group to believe that it was the Danbury Police Department of the city that was in charge of this rather than ICE?
No. Any other questions?
After this affair, do you feel that day laborers in the city or that people looking for work are intimidated out of going to Kennedy Park?
Absolutely not. I think people go to Kennedy Park every day. I think the day after ICE made those arrests, there was people looking for work at Kennedy Park.
So
they were there this morning.
So you don't think this has had any effect of stifling the immigrants' desire to come to Danbury or making them feel uncomfortable in the community?
I don't know. I think you'd have to discuss that with folks that are down at Kennedy Park. I will say that in some ways the lawsuit, we believe, is an attempt to have a chilling effect on the debate surrounding illegal immigration. As I mentioned at the outset of my comments, we're not going to be bullied into discussing this issue by a lawsuit filed by the lawsuit.
So you're not going to be bullied into a discussion of an issue which is important to you in the city?
I'm not going to be bullied into not discussing an issue that's important to the city and to the residents. Further questions?
Thank you. Where do you see then Danbury as a municipality? How do you see Danbury's role in this issue? It is a federal issue that has municipal impacts. And how do you see, your role as the mayor and the town council's role? Because you did say that if you do choose to go the same route that the village of Brewster did, it was something to be voted by the town council. So then here you are as a community on a municipal level dealing with that issue. How do you see the relationship?
Well, I think the relationship is difficult in the sense that the federal government has abdicated their responsibility in this particular realm. And what's happened is that counties and cities and states across America have had to deal with the impact of their failed policy. But beyond that, our role, whether it's formal or informally, we will continue to assist any federal law enforcement agency that asks for assistance, whether it be the FBI, whether it be ATF, the DEA, Secret Service sometimes is in town as well. And when they request our assistance, we will provide it.
softball. You
We don't have any, Spencer. We have no softball.
You're as familiar with anyone with this issue and its effect on the city. Could you comment on what you think the atmosphere is in the city as to like tolerance and that kind of thing? Going back to your initial request to have the state police be able to enforce immigration law, through the demonstrations after that, through these arrests. What do you think the climate in the city is right now?
Well, I think that the climate has to be driven by those people that are in the middle. The people on the far right who are racist, and they're out there, we know that they're out there, can't be part of this discussion. And the people on the far left who say that there is no problem with illegal immigration can't be part of the discussion either. I think that discussion and this decision, not just a Danbury decision, not a state decision, but a national decision, has to be made by the 65% of people who are in the middle who say, look, this is a problem, we've got to have a common sense solution, otherwise we continue to have fallout from a whole different ways in which counties and states across America end up dealing with it.
Do you think that those Yale law students are part of the far left that can't be part of the discussion?
I think the Yale law students are entitled to their opinion and vigorously oppose and disagree with them.
Would you like to see ICE conduct more operations, ICE-led operations in the city?
I think that's up to ICE. I mean, ICE does not notify us, particularly my office, when they're coming or what actions will be taken. So
But would you like to see that occur? And as part of the menu of ways you're trying to deal with immigration?
What I'd like to see is a comprehensive approach towards handling the issue of illegal immigration.
Until that, would you like to see ICE?
Part of that is enforcement, but part of that also is reform, and both of those things have to go together.
One last question in regards to the climate also in town and the immigrant communities being ethnic media. Do you consider, let's say, the day laborers of Kennedy Park citizens of the city of Danbury, since they live here, and do you see your office or City Hall into making any efforts to engage into feeling like they're part of the city of Danbury, or are they really just seen as foreigners who are not supposed to be here?
Well, I think it's my responsibility as mayor to protect the health, safety, and welfare for all residents, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their status, regardless of their race or religion, and we'll continue to do that. So everybody's entitled to that basic service from our city employees and from our administration. Beyond that, at the end of the day, I think I have to manage the city, and I have to do the best job that I can at working at enhancing the quality of life and all those other things. Everybody has a role to play.
Another question for Chief Alan Baker. Do you see that this climate of fear that is in some of the new immigrant communities, do you see that in the future, or is it right now making the job harder, let's say in a scenario, if a undocumented immigrant witnesses a crime, do you feel that they are able or they feel compelled to go into the police and talking about it, or do you feel that they fear the police's immigration and they will not feel comfortable in contacting the police?
I haven't noticed any change since the raids last year in terms of wanting to cooperate with the police. I think people, immigrants, community continue to cooperate with the police, are not afraid to come to the police, and we have a good working relationship with anybody that comes to report a crime.
Another question for the chief, real quick. One of these illegal immigrants says that after he was arrested, he was held, and he wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom when he needed to, that he wasn't allowed to make a phone call for 5 days. He also claims that one of the police officers told him that he has to have his family ready for him in his country of origin to pick him up at the airport because that's where he's going. Do you know about any of this stuff?
I do not.
Sorry, on the day of the raid, where were you, first of all, when this was all going on? Where were these people when you read the Danbury?
Well, in terms of me personally, I was in bed, and if you remember during that day, I was I hadn't gone to the airport yet. Governor Rell had a 12 p.m. press conference here in the council chambers related to some other issues, so I was here to greet her. I arrived at City Hall at about 8:45. At that point, the chief called me and said that ICE had conducted an operation early that morning, and that's pretty much how we were.
And that was the first you heard of it?
Yes.
When did they leave town? The 11th?
I'm going to guess around 9:30, but I don't know. And I really wouldn't be able to say on the record, this is the time they're looking.
Any plans to like renew your request to have state police or Danbury police? Since your initial request, a lot more cities and jurisdictions have gotten that authorization under federal law to enforce immigration law. Any plan to ask for that for Danbury police?
Well, I mentioned earlier, a question from another reporter was the common council, members of the common council absolutely participate in a program called the ICE Access Program. But we have to really look at both the legal aspects and the public policy aspects of that kind of program. There is some benefit from working closely with ICE. On the other hand, there are issues as they relate to home rule. I want to make sure that's thoroughly researched by our legal department before taking a step.
Any idea on when you might reach a decision on that?
It depends how long these guys can do their research, and then it will come back to the council for a legislative vote.
Working on a municipal ID plan?
No. Any other questions? With that, I appreciate everybody coming out, and we'll be following this closely. Thank you.